Well, since today is May the 4th, may the 4th be with you. And in case you are a huge Star Wars fan and you want the world to know just that, you might want to take a look at the Star Wars edition of the Lenovo Yoga 920. Now, I'm personally a huge fan of the adventures of Picard, Data, Riker. No, sorry, I know that's the wrong franchise. Even though I have to admit, I've never even seen a single Star Wars movie, and I don't know anything about that. I hope that's okay. But what I know something about is laptops. So let's get into this one today. And there are actually two versions available. A white one for the Rebel Alliance and the dark one here for the Galactic Empire. I know just that much because I've checked beforehand and I don't know what this is supposed to be. But a thing that I know about the top is that it's different on the Star Wars edition with glass instead of metal, and this glass, as you can see, will attract quite a lot of fingerprints, and it is definitely, since it's glass, prone to break, but therefore it comes with this nice inlay that isn't super sharp here with the stars, but stars aren't usually something you see in high res, so I guess that's nice. And it's definitely something different. It definitely looks very nice and feels premium, which I can't really say so much about the backside, because here they could have also done something in terms of design, because this doesn't feel particularly premium. A little bit flimsy. It gets the job done totally, absolutely, but still. Now we have some hard plastic feet that protect it halfway decently from sliding, and the two speakers at the bottom. I'm getting into those obviously later on. Now in terms of ports, we have 2 times USB Type-C with Thunderbolt, this one for charging. We have a headphone jack. We have a little bit of some kind of cutout with 2 microphones here, and on the right side we have the reset hole. Then we have a power button and USB Type-A with obviously USB 3.0. Now, the good thing about this watch band hinge, as you can see, which obviously Lenovo is known for, is that it can be easily opened with one hand. And that is a nice thing and something I always really like, but it could be a little bit stiffer, especially if you want to use it in tablet mode, not quite all the way down with your stylus, because then it doesn't work maybe all that perfect. Now, you can already pretty much see that the bezels are very small on 3 sides, but therefore we have the camera here, but not so much on the bottom. So for a 13.9-inch laptop, it still feels a little bit on the bigger side, but with about 1.35 kilograms or so. It's not super heavy, but I've seen more compact ones. But we mostly go from 13.3 now to close to 14, which just is a bigger size. Now, if you can see on the inside, where we still have nice aluminum that doesn't really attract fingerprints and feels very well done, we can also see the fingerprint reader that I can show you right now. And it usually works fine. It's not quite as fast as on phones, but still gets the job done. We have 2 levels of backlight for the keyboard. I know it's a little bit too bright, but sorry, I can't really change that so much. But the keyboard, I would have to say, in terms of feedback, gets the job done quite nicely. It's not the very best one. It doesn't flex. The travel is actually okay, and the feedback is good. Layout is also nice, with all the important buttons for brightness, but also volume and such, easily accessible. You can type on it really well, so no real complaints. I like what they've done here, but I've seen better ones, obviously. Now, this is a precision trackpad with a good size, a good texture, and it doesn't feel all that flimsy, because I've had already some in the past that had a gap here. I don't really feel that, just a little bit, but it's fine. And you can scroll with it really nicely. If I, for example, show this now, it reacts very well. It gets all 3 finger gestures nicely and all 4 finger gestures. And that's just something that I like so much about those precision trackpads. Now, what we also have is the pen. So let's get quickly into that one. And I have to say, in case you maybe don't see it at first glance in your box, check it. It's there, but it's quite hidden. I have to say that. Now, the pen, on the sides, it reacts very well. Of course, it comes with Bluetooth, with the button here and the 2 other ones. And I know people always want to know how well it is for writing. And I don't really write all that well, and I definitely can't draw, but I think it makes a nice job, because it still feels like it is a pen on glass. And the only thing you can prevent that is with a matte protector, because I had once, I think 2 times already, a matte display that had pen support. That one felt like paper, but this one feels really good. It's maybe not quite as good as the best ones from Microsoft or such, but you can write on it really well, because if we quickly try that with my ugly writing, it reacts very well. There is a little bit of a delay, but otherwise it feels fine. Obviously we have pressure points, and that's something that I always have a habit of doing. The way I type, that I hit the erase button, but if I slightly move it, it works out fine. So this is it. yeah, I hit the button by accident, but I think the stylus does a good job. Now, about that display, let me show you the values and let me show you then something else, because I have to say there is something a little bit weird about this display. It's not the calibration itself, because as you can see, 99% of sRGB and 81% for Adobe RGB. The value is good, but I've seen many displays with these values these days. No, this didn't work so well. Now, why are we writing? So let's try this once again. Obviously, it's a demo. Something has to go wrong. That was due to the pen, obviously. Now, the other value, gamma, is a little bit off, but not by much. And then the brightness is the one thing that I have an issue with this display, because as you can maybe see here, 144 at 75%, but at 100% we have 390, which is the top value, absolutely no problem. I usually try to review all my laptops with about 200, which is a value that I have a hard time getting here, because, for example, if I go to 100, I'm at 390, which obviously is too bright for you now, and then 90 is the value that I've used actually all the time, and 80, I have to say in my case already felt too dull. And I would have wished for a little bit more granularity at about 70 and above, because the lower values are kind of almost kind of surprisingly odd, because 0 is 0. It's completely shut off. You don't see anything anymore. That's something you don't really see all that often. So I had to keep it at 90% because of all the time, because 80 for me just felt a little bit too dull. But otherwise, let's get into the qualities, like, for example, the calibration, which I want to show right about now. Because if you, for example, take a picture here with color, switch to spider, where I did my measurements with, you can maybe see the following. If I go a little bit closer, quality won't really get better. This is without calibration, and this is with the calibration. So especially if you're maybe in the browser, you will see a huge difference in terms of white. It gets reddish, which is just obviously seen on my camera, not in reality, because it is a real white, and it just makes colors a little bit more pleasant. But I also have to tell you this, pretty much every display that I've seen is calibrated like this out of the box, not like this. Not quite sure, maybe that's just more pleasing for general appearance for most people, but I have to say white point was out of the box. Okay, black value really good. I had no light bleed or anything, and it is super dark. The values actually show this, because as you can see, we have a great black value of 0.39 and a contrast of 1000. That's above average, noticeably. Sharpness, since it's a 4K display and scaling isn't an issue anymore, I have to say this is great, but it also comes down just with the downside that if you want to scroll in the browser or do some heavy tasks, the higher resolution is taxing. It's also definitely more demanding on the battery. So that's something you have to keep in mind. But otherwise, it is a nice display. Absolutely. So let's get into the speaker here real quick. Now, the sound definitely depends heavily on how you actually use it, because if you have it on a soft surface, like I often do, like on the bed or on a couch or on my laps, the sound definitely gets blocked, muffled, and loses a lot of maximum quality. If you have it on a desk and it can reflect, or if you have it in one of the other modes that are definitely available due to the watch band hinge, it goes more towards you, and then it sounds actually really good, because the sound is good. Absolutely, it's loud enough and the quality is good, especially since we also have options like, for example, obviously, yeah, that's, how can that actually happen? Because, yeah, so it happened again. I have no idea why, and this is actually something that happened already the first time. There is a Dolby app where you can adjust some settings, but the first time, before I reset this device, it was there, I could adjust the sound, and then it was gone. After now, it seems like when I did the last Windows update, it's gone again. So you maybe have to uninstall it later on, but you can adjust some things in the equalizer and so on. Headphone jack also sounds quite good, quite loud for a laptop, and a good sound. So in terms of the sound department, they did a good job, but still I would prefer for speakers on the sides or maybe at the top. But due to the 360-degree hinge and such, maybe it's not the perfect solution, but on the sides, I guess, would have been definitely possible. So let's get into the next thing, which would be the performance, and you maybe already have seen the value here. That's an absolutely impressive value. 3 GB of read speeds and about 1.1 in terms of write speeds. Totally great value. And one thing that I always like about Lenovo devices is that it boots very quickly. So between 6 and 7 seconds, that is absolutely great. And what is also great is still even the browsing in, let's lower the brightness a little bit. That's the thing, it's not quite that, but as you can see, even in Chrome with scrolling with the finger, this is smooth. I have to say though, if you get the full HD version, it will feel a little bit lighter. But obviously this is a quad core and all that kind of stuff, so I'm not really gonna show anything, and I've said this all the time, this is more than capable to do anything. Now with the quad core, that will give you like 60-70% more compared to the dual cores. Any business jobs will get easily done. Now you can definitely play games with it, but definitely lower end ones because you don't have a dedicated graphics card. And editing videos, for example, with Adobe Premiere now with the quad core works better, but you still would definitely have a lot of more benefit or advantage of it if you have a graphics card inside. So all I can say is, for what it is, for an ultrabook with just the normal graphics, with just the quad core, this is a big step above the dual cores. But for some people, actually, like for me, it would be already overkill. But it also comes with more efficiency, which is what I want to get into the next point when it comes to the temperatures. Because I had an ambient temperature, as you can see, of 23 degrees. And then I had the bottom temperatures of about 32 degrees, which is absolutely easily okay for your labs. No problems here at all. And 34 degrees on the upper part, which is absolutely nice. With an average about 40 degrees for the CPU, that is fine. Now, under load for half an hour, it didn't throttle. And the temperatures didn't really change much because obviously it got high in terms of average with 65, but 40 degrees on both ends is an absolutely top value. And that also gets along with the sound of the fans, because I have to say, it's just one, that after half an hour of a stress test, this fan, I guess, already reaches maximum volume, which wasn't high at all. And I've seen this, and I guess this has to do with the, like I already mentioned, better efficiency of these new quad-core chips. It wasn't loud at all, so if you want to render and keep it in the background, it won't disturb you at all because it's a very even sound. It's not high-pitched, it's very subtle, and in normal use it actually pretty much never did turn on. Yes, now since it's the summer, it did turn on like 1 or 2 times in the higher battery mode, because I have to mention that when it comes already to the battery. Now with Windows, it's recently got these options to change it to full power mode, and then to better performance and also better efficiency. So I did mostly my testing on better performance and better efficiency, which I will give you the values after I give you the one for the charge time, because that one is at 1 hour 55, which is a top value, and after like half an hour you are at 40%, after 1 hour you are at 75%. So that for the 71 watt hour battery is top. Now how are the values? Now, under more performance, I was at about 5 hours on normal use, and on higher efficiency, I was at about 6.5. But I have to mention this as every time, and it's getting repetitive, but you can easily add like 20-25% to that, because I use a little bit of a higher brightness, and the way I use my laptops, from experience, I can tell you that you should expect 20-25% more. Now, in terms of software, there's not really anything to show off, because there is no kind of Star Wars theme app or game installed or something like that. It's pretty much just what you get with the normal one, which means you get an update software, you get also the Dolby Digital software that for some reason is gone now, and the rest is quite bloat free. So it's pretty much just Windows, and with the latest update, obviously. That's pretty much it. What I wanted to show still though is that there is a holder for the pen that you can, I guess, plug into the USB port and have it stored securely, as you can see. But otherwise, I'd say let's get into the conclusion, and I have to just mention the price when it comes to the value, because the Star Wars edition is about 200 more, and depending on where we are, I've seen that with the big SSD 512 GB for around $1,500. Now in Germany, for example, it's about 1,600 euros with just 256 GB. And for that, I have to say that I have a little bit of a hesitation fully recommending it, because the good thing about this laptop is that it's pretty much flawless. It doesn't have anything that I would have to point out which could be a deal breaker, but it also doesn't really have anything that completely makes it stand out, besides in this case the Star Wars design, because there are ones that are maybe a little bit more compact or feel a little bit more premium. There are better displays out there. There are better peripherals. There are better speakers. Performance-wise, it's absolutely on par with the best ones. And in terms of battery, also, I would say very, very similar. But maybe not all support the pen. And maybe all don't quite deliver the yoga functionality that you like and some other features. But that, for a price of around 1,500 to 1,600, you just have to know if that's worth it for you, of some higher flexibility, but therefore maybe sacrificing on a few of of the higher end categories, because what I would have wished for to see something that makes it stand out in comparison to something like a Dell XPS 13 or maybe even some other Lenovo's on itself that are just cheaper, because this is a very high quality premium product. And obviously these days we have products from also Asus, from HP and from Microsoft, and all those are at the same price range and they all pretty much offer the same. So that's the thing, it doesn't really stand out in anything, not even in the price, which actually is a little bit on the higher end by now. So not quite sure what else to say. If you are a Star Wars fan, I guess this is one of the very few options that you have. And like I said, it is a nice product without any issues. But if that is convincing enough for you to buy it, I don't know, let me know in the comments. Okay, until next time, bye.